He followed his crush into another world and became the hero who fights the Demon King with the power of magic rings. When Sato was just a little moron who climbed trees to hunt bugs to eat them in his spare time, something unusual happened to him. As he was about to grab a big, crunchy beetle, he saw a golden light coming from behind him and fell to the ground after losing his balance. From the light came an old sage and his pretty blonde granddaughter, who gave Sato his first erection. She asked his name and then introduced herself as Hymno. She told Sato to forget everything he saw today, and in return, she would be his friend. Sato instinctively knew at that moment that this decision would change his life, and he was ready for anything as long as he could stay by this cutie's side. 10 years have passed since then, and Hymno and her grandpa have lived as Sato's neighbors for the entire time. Hymno is his best friend, who has turned into a 10-tenths baddie with a great plot. She casually walks into his room in the morning to check up on the morning wood and tells Sato to wake up as breakfast is ready. As they eat breakfast, Sato is caught off guard by Hymno's exposed plot, and on top of that, she picks a grain of rice from his face and eats it. Something explodes inside Sato, and he remains dazed as they head out to go to school. On the way, Sato begins staring at the 2 rings around Hymno's neck. He remembers that she told him that she would give this ring to the person she would marry and asked him if he would marry her in the future. However, now she tells him to stop looking at the rings because they are for someone special. Sato is disappointed, but he knows that expecting things from childhood promises is like expecting things from politicians. Anyway, in school, they hang out with their respective friend circles, and Sato's friends tell him to stop dilly-dallying and make a move on Hymno before it is too late. Just then, he gets a text from Hymno, inviting him to watch the festival together at night. Sato gets his hopes up, and at night, he runs to the festival to see Hymno wearing a traditional dress. Her beauty takes his breath away, and she keeps teasing him about it. They enjoy the festival, and Hymno eats some big sausages out of habit while Sato keeps looking at her. Later, he wins a stuffed toy for her, and they head to a quiet spot in the forest to watch the fireworks. Sato thinks this is his chance, but just as he is about to confess his love to her, the fireworks go off, interrupting him. After a while, Hymno says she has something to tell him, and Sato thinks that it is going to be good news this time for sure. However, Hymno tells him that she is going to be moving to her grandpa's homeland tomorrow, and it is too far from here. Sato feels his world shattering, and as they return home, he tries confessing to Hymno again, but she cuts him off mid-sentence. She thanks him for the memories, and Sato is left staring at his hand, which is going to be his only partner for some time. He plops on his bed, unable to get Hymno out of his mind. He realizes that even after spending 10 years with her, he knows nothing about her. Just then, a golden light floods his room, and he looks outside the window to see the same golden flame from which Hymno and her grandfather came here. He rushes to the fire where Hymno is standing, ready to leave. On seeing him, she decides to tell him the truth. She reveals that she is a princess from another world, and now she has to return home to get married, so this is the last time they would be seeing each other. She enters the golden flame with that, and Sato chases after her. He didn't come here just to see her off, and he is willing to risk everything to be with her. So without a hint of doubt, he jumps into the golden flame himself, and the very next moment arrives in a church in the parallel world where Hymno is getting married to a prince. Everyone is shocked by Sato appearing out of nowhere, but then an even more shocking thing happens. A demon attacks the church, and everyone goes into panic mode, realizing that it is here to kill the princess, who is the Holy Maiden of Light. Hymno's grandpa jumps to face it, but he gets distracted on seeing Sato and gets bitch-slapped by the demon. He realizes that they can't defeat the demon by themselves, and they need the power of the Ring of Light. He asks Hymno to give the ring to the prince, but she takes a look at Sato, who is frozen out of fear in front of the monster. She too decides to risk everything and rushes towards him. She kisses him, and suddenly, the ring appears around his finger, resonating with hers. A bright light is released from the church tower because of the power of the ring, and everyone is shocked. Only the prince understands what is going on. Instead of getting butthurt about being dumped, he decides to help Sato and tosses his sword towards him. Sato doesn't even know how to use the sword, but then the power of his ring enchants it with light magic. He swings it at the demon with all his might, destroying him in one go. Everyone is awestruck at this, but then Sato suddenly loses all energy and falls unconscious to the ground. When he wakes up, he is in the royal couple's bedroom with Hymno, who is acting shy because of the kiss. Sato suddenly realizes that he forgot to react to the kiss that time, so he turns red and wonders if Hymno liked him all along. She just tells him that she was supposed to marry the prince, but she didn't know him, so as soon as she saw Sato's familiar face, she decided to marry him. Sato is devastated on learning that they are married, but just as friends, and then Hymno apologizes because she made him this country's hero. Later, a bunch of butthurt peasants gather because the princess chose someone else to marry instead of the prince, who is a feminist and says that it was Hymno's choice to marry whoever she wants, and he will assist the chosen one to save the world. Once the complaints have been dealt with, the old sage orders the gates to be opened because the entire kingdom is eager to get a glimpse of their hero, the Ring King, who has the power to defeat demons from the abyss. Sato and Hymno go out to see the crowd, and the sage asks him to say something. He is speechless at first, but then he lets this sudden fame get to his head and declares that he is the hero who has come to this world to save them. Once he goes to the bathroom after that, Sato begins regretting how cringe he acted when Hymno walks into the bathroom too. Sato panics, but Hymno tells him that they have to spend time together because they are newlyweds, but she orders him not to look at her. Once she gets in the bath, she apologizes for dragging him into the matters of this world when he had nothing to do with it. Sato says it doesn't matter what he got involved in because, as long as it means protecting her, he will do everything he can. Hymno is glad to hear that, but then suddenly, the alarm bell rings and Sato stands up. Well, he is not the only one standing up, and as Hymno sees his little guy, she screams in panic. Anyway, they rush outside, getting dressed up on the way, because a powerful demon has attacked the palace. The soldiers ask Sato to help them, but Hymno protests because he doesn't even know how to fight. However, her grandpa, who is the legendary sage, tells her that it is Sato's duty as the wielder of the Ring of Light to fight demons. Sato is ready to fulfill his duty, and he lifts a huge axe and imbues it with the power of light. He tells Hymno that he may not know the situation of this world, but if it is for her, he will fight any monster. In response, Hymno kisses him for good luck and tells him to finish the demons quickly. Sato heads outside and defeats a demon with just one swing of his axe. This is the third demon he has defeated, and he wonders how he suddenly improved his stamina from being a one-pump chump to this. The old sage Baster tells him that it is because of the kiss he shared with Hymno before coming to the battle. He explains that the strength of the bond between him and Hymno as a married couple translates to the power he can use, but right now, he can't last long enough. The old sage tells him not to worry because he is here to support him, and then suddenly, Sato feels a strong gust of wind. He looks towards the sky and finds a high-ranking demon there, and Baster freaks out because that is a demon knight who works directly under the Demon King. Sato declares that he will end all the demons for Hymno's sake and charges at the demon knight despite Baster's warning. He gets his ass handed to him as the demon knight slams him into the castle wall with a gust of wind. Baster tells him that they cannot win this fight, and they should run away immediately. Sato has no choice but to follow the old sage. The demon knight sends her minions after them, and Baster blocks them using earth magic. He thinks they are safe now, but the demon knight has already entered the palace and is standing in their way. They realize that they can't win now, but just then, the cucked prince arrives there and throws a blanket over the demon before setting it on fire. He tells Sato to evacuate the castle because he has a carriage ready outside. Sato is not ready to leave without Hymno, but the prince assures him that Hymno is safely waiting for him in the carriage. Once they reach the carriage, Hymno hugs Sato and starts crying because she thought they were both going to die. As they leave their Disney castle in the background, Sato thanks the prince, whose name he doesn't even know. He introduces himself as Mars, the second prince of the neighboring empire. He then asks Baster if things will be fine in the kingdom since they are running away, and he replies that since the Abyss King and his demons are only after the rings, they won't harm their kingdom further. However, he tells Sato that only he can defeat the demons, but currently, he doesn't have enough power to do that. Sato asks him how he is supposed to become more powerful because apparently he gets his power from his relationship with his wife. Baster tells him that he will need the 4 other rings, and Sato is taken aback. He asks if they are also wedding rings like this one, and the old sage affirms, saying that to save the world, he has to create a harem of 5 princesses and collect all the rings like infinity stones. Sato is not comfortable with the idea of having more wives while he is married to Hymno, who is equally upset about it. Anyway, they reach an inn where only 2 rooms are available, so it is decided that Sato and Hymno will share 1 room. Before that, Baster wants to tell Sato more about his duty as the Ring King. Long ago, the dark powers of the Demon King threatened to swallow the whole world, and the hero who fought against him was the original Ring King. He forged 5 rings with elements of light, fire, water, wind, and earth, and using their power, he managed to defeat and seal the Demon King. After that, he gave those rings to his 5 wives, and they have passed them down to the princesses born in their families for generations as an heirloom and the ultimate weapon to save the world in times of need. Now the Demon King has awakened again and is gaining strength, so it is time for Sato to take on the job of the Ring King and gather all the rings. After listening to this story, Sato and Hymno go to their room, where she tells him not to think too much about the burden because royal marriages are just formalities. Sato is about to tell her that it is not just a formality to him when he suddenly feels pain all over his body. He is worried about him and asks him to strip. She finds bruises all over his back and starts crying, blaming herself for getting him into this mess. Sato chases after her, but she is not visible. Instead, he finds Mars enjoying the cool breeze. He thinks that Sato is burdened by his duty as the Ring King, and then thanks him because he never really wanted to be the hero who saved the world. Mars wants to tell Sato that he is the world's greatest simp because he left his world to come here for Hymno, but he just commends his courage for doing so. He then tells him where Hymno will be and wishes him the best of luck. Sato runs to the garden and finds Hymno crying by herself. He suddenly confesses his love to her and says that she doesn't have to feel responsible for anything because he came here out of his own will. He is blown away by his confession and tells him that she also loved him for the longest time. She says that she was going to marry a stranger for the sake of this world, but when she saw Sato, her resolve shattered, and she could not help but choose him over Mars. She says that even though she loved him, she did not want to marry him because then he would have to fight demons and get hurt. He would also have to marry other princesses, and she didn't want any of that. However, now she has decided that she will not do anything half-assed. She tells Sato that she will love him as his wife and also do her duty as the Holy Princess of Light. The next day, they head to the city of the elves, where the Ring of Wind lies. However, the city is surrounded by a permanent tornado to keep the other races from entering it. Baster remarks that the elves have changed a lot since he last visited their city because they were quite welcoming then. Suddenly, a huge bear monster appears and Sato asks if it is also a demon. Baster tells him that he can just think of it as a wild animal, and the nutjob inside Sato awakens as he goes to pet the bear. That was a foolish decision, and that enrages the bear that chases after them. They are driven to the edge of the storm wall, but luckily, some elf rangers rescue them from being crushed by the bear and the strong winds. Sato is shocked to see real elves and nervously introduces himself as the Ring King who is here to talk to the princess. The elves sigh and agree to take him to the city, but they warn him that things are not going to work out well with the peace. They travel through the hollow roots of a giant tree to reach the city of the elves. They soon reach the throne room, which is empty, and the elven princess is timidly hiding behind it. She asks Sato if he is the Ring King, and he proudly affirms that he is the hero from another world. The elf princess freaks out on hearing this, and then she asks if he is already married to the human princess. Sato affirms, and the princess asks him if he and Hymno have already done the deed. They get flustered over this, but tell her that they only kissed, which is too much for the shy elf to bear. She runs away, calling them disgusting degenerates for touching each other's lips, and then begins puking behind the closed curtain. Sato and others wonder what the hell is wrong with the girl when suddenly, her elder brother Jade arrives there to greet the guests. He says that his sister is a bit timid and shy, so they should not mind her reaction. Jade asks Sato if he is the famous Ring King he has heard about, and Sato affirms. Just as he hears that, Jade commands his men to arrest Sato and take him into custody, while telling everyone else to enjoy their stay as guests in the palace. Sato is locked up in a cell, and he asks Jade if he made any kind of mistake. Through their conversation, he learns that Jade has a sister complex, and he is not ready to give her hand to another man. Princess Neffy is too shy to come out of the palace and has no exposure to the outside world, much less to other species. On top of that, she is just 54 years old, which is too young to get married for elves. That is why Jade wants Sato to patiently wait in the cell for around 80 years so that Neffy can become mature enough for marriage. Sato freaks out and yells that he would be long dead by then, but Jade ignores him like I ignore my responsibilities and heads back. It turns out that he fed Sato a bunch of bullcrap because his true motive is to keep his sister in the city forever so that they can use the power of her ring to keep up the storm wall that protects them from everything. 3 days pass, and Sato is still rotting in the cell when a mysterious elf MILF appears there. She shuts his mouth and asks him why he wants to gather all the 5 rings. She asks what his motive is behind that, and Sato confidently declares that he just wants to have a happy married life with Hymno. The MILF laughs, saying that despite having the greatest power of the world in his hands, his dreams are quite small. However, Sato's honest answer impresses her, and she decides to help him out. She reveals a secret passage hidden in the prison wall and tells Sato to follow her. On the way, he asks her who she is and why she is helping him. The elf tells him that she is supposed to ensure that the future of elves is in good hands, but with Jade, that is not possible. She tells Sato that even though Jade knows that the Ring of Wind should belong to the Ring King, he insists on using its power to enclose this nation in the storm prison so that they don't have any interaction with the outside world. Soon, they come to a cave where the Ring of Wind is in the finger of a statue. Sato is surprised to see that because the ring should be with Princess Nefi. He asks the MILF if the princess shouldn't have the ring, but before she can answer, she senses someone coming. They both immediately hide, and Sato sees a blanket crawl towards the statue by itself. Soon, Princess Nefi comes out of the blanket, and Sato is left gaping at her beauty. Nefi prays to the statue of her parents and tells them that the Ring King came to steal her and the ring, but she is going to honor their command and stay in the palace to protect it. Sato is touched by her gesture of praying to her parents' statues, but the elf tells him that they are not statues. They are in fact the previous elf king and his queen, who have turned to stone but are still using the power of the ring to create the storm wall. Sato freaks out on hearing this, and his scream alerts Nefi, thinking that she is just a dumb bitch who is easy to fool. Sato begins imitating bird sounds, but the MILF tells him that it won't work because they don't even have birds in the elf village. Nefi is quite shaken, but she commands them to come out of hiding. Sato doesn't hesitate in revealing himself and introducing himself as the Ring King, which freaks Nefi out so much that she loses consciousness. Sato catches her before she falls, but just then, guards from the palace start looking for her. The elf mommy tells Sato that they don't want to get caught by the guards, so she tells him to bring the princess along to a place no one will find. She leads them to a secret room only she knows as the Elder of the Elves and tells Sato that using a bit of force is necessary to save the world. She tells him to enjoy his time with the unconscious princess and claim the ring before leaving the room. Sato keeps staring at Nefi and fights off the urge to take advantage of her. She wakes up soon and freaks out on seeing him. Sato assures her that he won't harm her, but Nefi has accumulated too much stress just by breathing the same air as him, and she instantly pukes on him. On the other hand, the guard informs Jade that Nefi is missing, and he frantically starts searching for her. On finding Sato's cell empty, he gets furious, thinking that he must be behind it. Hymno and others are also worried about him, when suddenly, the mommy elder arrives there and tells Jade that he is right, because it is the Ring King who has taken the princess with him. She declares that they both eloped from the city, and Jade's face turns pale. The MILF teases him that his sister ran away with the man she loves, and now he is no longer the #1 guy for her. Jade loses his mind, and then the mommy tells him that it is the destiny of the princess to inherit the ring and give it to the Ring King, and he won't stop Nefi from doing that. Jade suddenly snaps, saying that it was never about Nefi but about protecting their kingdom, and he will do anything he can do to keep things the same. He decides to thoroughly investigate the mommy's mansion, where Sato and Nefi are sitting naked because their clothes got too dirty. Nefi apologizes for barfing on him and then making him wash her clothes, but Sato tells her that it is no big deal. She is scared of him because not only is he an outsider but also a superhuman from another world. Sato tells her that he is just a regular human, and the world he came from is even lamer than this one because they don't have any magic or monsters. Nefi gets curious on hearing this, and she asks Sato if there are any elves in his world. Sato gets flustered at finding her so close, but tells her that there are no elves in his world. He then says that it is a surprise that the shut-in princess is actually so curious about the outside world. Nefi timidly says that she is really curious about the world, but she is too timid to go outside, so the only way she can learn about new things is through the books that the elder sneaks into her room sometimes. She says that while she really wants to see things in person, she cannot even leave her room. Sato motivates her by saying that all she needs to do is to take the leap of faith, and then everything works out by itself. Nefi is so excited to hear this that she clasps Sato's hands, saying that one day she would like to see his world. He is ready for that, but reminds her that she just dropped her blanket. Nefi turns red as she realizes that she just flashes her perfect melons to a stranger. She covers up frantically, and then Sato asks why she stays in her room if she is so curious about the world. Before Nefi can give the answer, she hears Jade's voice coming from outside. She is taken aback on hearing it, but Sato decides to go out and face the prince himself. He tells Nefi that he came to this world only for Hymno, and even though he now has the duty to protect this world as the Ring King, he will not force anyone to marry him. He tells Nefi that the decision is entirely up to her, and she says that she will try to talk to her brother about it. They go outside, where the furious Jade tells Nephi to come to him at once. She hides behind Sato, and seeing that makes Hymno insecure. Nephi tries to convince her brother that Sato is not a bad person, and she needs to hand him the Ring of Wind for the good of the world. Jade angrily tells her that he is not asking for her opinion and orders her to come to him at once. Nephi timidly obeys and goes behind him, and the pleased Jade asks Sato if he knows what the punishment is for kidnapping the princess of their nation. Just then, the mommy elf arrives there and tells Jade that she was the one behind Sato escaping from the prison and taking Nephi along. She says that she is going to take care of things with Sato, and Jade can't refuse her suggestion. He leaves with Nephi, telling Sato never to show his face here again. Nephi keeps turning back to see Sato, who is furious at her scumbag brother now. Later, Sato and Hymno finally get together, and she is jealous that he got on good terms with Nephi. Just then, the mommy elf arrives there and introduces herself as the oldest elf in this kingdom. She says that as the Ring King and his wife, Sato and Hymno deserve to know the story of what happened to the city of elves and Nephi. It all began with the elder sister of Nephi's mom, who was the rightful heir to the Ring of Wind. The elves had always kept the ring inside the village through marriage, but the princess fell in love with a traveler. The elves did not like this one bit, and they began suspecting that the man approached the princess only to get his hands on the ring. They opposed their relationship, and one day, the man stopped coming to see the princess, probably because he was dealt with. The elves were relieved that the ring would stay within their country, but the heartbroken princess was consumed by rage and grief. She cursed the country to be swallowed by the darkness of the abyss, and the royal family to vanish from the face of the earth. Even though the princess left the country shortly, the fear of her curse became stronger among the elves. Finally, Nephi's mother decided to sacrifice her life to erect the storm barrier to protect the country from any kind of external forces, and she made Nephi promise to her that she must always stay in the country. Because of that promise, Nephi strongly believes that no matter what, she cannot leave this country. The very next day, Sato's group decides to leave the country of elves. Baster tells Sato to forget about the Ring of Wind right now because they need to gather other rings first so that he can become stronger. Sato agrees with him, but he is also worried about Nephi's well-being. Anyway, his group leaves the city, and Jade is relieved that he doesn't have to contend for his sister's attention anymore. Just then, one soldier comes running to him and informs him that demons have made their way past the storm wall. Jade freaks out, unable to believe that the storm wall can be breached. But the soldier tells him that there is a demon knight among the horde outside, and she is tearing a hole in the barrier to let her minions in one at a time. On the other hand, Sato and his group were just about to enter the hollow tree root that would lead them outside when they saw the demons heading towards the palace. Baster tells Sato that they need to head back and protect the ring, and he immediately agrees. He kisses him to give him the strength to fight the demons. In the city, the demons easily overpower the guards and start wreaking havoc. While Nephi is too terrified to come out of her room, the demon knight reaches the temple to get her hands on the ring, but Jade arrives there to stop her. He attacks her with his wind magic-infused sword, but she blocks his attack and then yeets him away, freely manipulating him with her power. Jade is in shock, but he still gets up to defend his parents' legacy. The demon knight sends a flying slash towards him, but it gets nullified by Baster's magic. Jade is shocked to see Sato and his group here and asks why the hell are they back here. Sato says that he will protect Nephi's home and then tells the demon knight that this time he will stop her for sure because he has got more power from his wife. He attacks her with his light enchanted sword, but it is useless as the demon knight easily overpowers him. Meanwhile, Hymno patches up Jade, telling him that even though this battle is impossible, Sato will do everything to protect her. Jade gets up, saying that he will also do whatever it takes to keep his sister safe from the fate of the rings. On the other hand, Sato can't even manage to reach the demon knight despite being stronger, and Hymno blames herself for it. When she kissed him earlier, there were doubts in her mind because she felt jealous towards Nephi, and now she thinks that her power won't be enough to defeat the demon knight. So she runs to find Nephi and ask for help, and the mommy elf informs Sato about this. She decides to buy time for Hymno to succeed in the mission and joins the fight. On the other side, Hymno knocks at Nephi's door and requests her to marry Sato. When she gets no response, she begins narrating her life story and how her parents lost their lives trying to protect her and the Ring of Light. Nephi feels her story relatable yet different. She tells Hymno that her parents sacrificed their lives so that she won't have to use the ring, and she must honor their wishes. Hymno yells at her, saying that she won't be able to protect anyone like this, and Sato, who is fighting to protect her home, will fail. Nephi is shocked to hear that Sato is fighting for her sake, and then Hymno tells her that she can't give him enough power to win this battle. She breaks into tears as she begs Nephi to help Sato by marrying him, and the timid princess opens the door for her. Meanwhile, Sato and others are barely managing to stall the demon knight when suddenly, Hymeneal and Nephi arrive there with a giant hammer. Jade asks what she is doing here, and Nephi apologizes in advance as she drags the hammer ahead with Hymeneal's help. She swings the hammer on her petrified parents, apologizing for her actions, and shatters them. The rings fall to the ground, and the storm wall disappears outside. Nephi grabs the rings and rushes to kiss Sato, accepting him as her husband. Sato is taken aback by this, but then he sees the ring of wind on his finger. Jade asks Nephi if she even understands the danger she has invited by removing the barrier, but Nephi tells him that everything will work out fine. She holds hands with Sato, and together, the power of the rings of light and wind annihilates all the demons in the sky. The demon knight is greatly weakened too, and Sato rushes to finish her. He can counter her wind attacks with his newfound powers and manages to stab her mask. However, that was the end of his strength, and he falls to the ground after losing his consciousness. He later wakes up with both his wives watching over him, and the mommy and Baster are also there. Just then, another elf lady comes there and thanks Sato for saving their country, and he asks who the hell is she now. Mommy Elf tells him that she is the elder sister of Nephi's mom, who left the country after losing her lover. Sato is confused about how and when she returned, and Mommy Elf asks him if he doesn't remember the face under the mask of the demon knight. Sato is unable to process this, but then the elf throws a black ring towards him. It has the same symbol as the Ring of Wind, and apparently, the Demon King used it to control her when she was filled with hate and rage. Sato asks her if she couldn't just say no, but he is told that the Demon King's powers are irresistible. He decides to set out on his journey to end the Demon King quickly, but stumbles as he tries taking a step forward. The mommy elf tells him that he has used too much power from the rings, so he is weak right now. But since his bonds with his wives are strong, he got off easy. Sato suddenly realizes that he married another girl besides Hymeneal, and as he is about to make their relationship clear to Nephi, she invites him to the healing hot springs in the palace. While the young ones enjoy their hot spring visit, the former ring princess asks Baster if he knows about her lover because he is quite old too. Baster pulls out a necklace that the princess identifies as her lover's, and Baster tells her that he was a close friend of his and entrusted him with this necklace. He tells the princess that her lover left her because he didn't want her to be hated by her people because of him, and now he lives peacefully in a faraway land. The princess is glad to hear this, but the next day, as Sato and his group leave, she learns the name of Baster, who was actually her lover. She can't believe that she did not recognize him, and then asks the mommy if she thinks that Nephi will have a better life than hers. The mommy elf is actually one of the original ring princesses, and she says that from her experience, no ring princess has had a good life. But since Sato is different from other king candidates, things might be different this time. Meanwhile, Sato's group camps in an open space for the night. While Baster and Mars discuss which ring country they should go next, Sato serves some hot soup to the clumsy Nephi. He even helps her wipe her face, and that makes him jealous. She recalls how Sato has been spending all his time with Nephi lately, spoiling her with everything, and she doesn't like that. She gets furious and starts running away, so Sato runs after her. Just as he catches her, he hears a loud rumbling sound and finds an enormous carriage rolling past them. It is not just one carriage but an entire caravan, and Baster is delighted to see this because this is the country of the Fire Ring where the wandering cat knights lie. Baster declares that they are going to fetch the Fire Ring first, and Sato asks how they are even supposed to get inside these things. Baster says that it is easy and immediately hollers at the carriage, asking if they can come. The carriage stops and a ladder is rolled out. But just looking up at the carriage from the bottom makes Nephi dizzy. She gives up on climbing it, and Sato is about to offer his help. But Hymeneal quickly intervenes and says that she will look after her. Anyway, they climb up the ladder and arrive at the opulent markets inside the caravan. Sato asks why there are merchants more in population here if this is the settlement of the Cat Knights, and Baster explains that the cat people lost their home during the time of the first Ring King, and they decided to create a moving capital for themselves. Since they are very good at fighting and protecting, many merchants joined with them for security, and now they are the biggest union of mercenaries and traders. Baster says that they should immediately seek an audience with the princess, but Sato points out that both his wives are missing. It turns out Nephi was too excited to see the cat people settlement, and she grabbed Hymeneal's hand, thinking it was Sato. Now they are both lost because of her, and Nephi freaks out enough to puke in the public. Anyway, Hymeneal tells her to calm down because panicking won't help them. They spot two cat ladies in front of them, and he remarks that their ears are cute. Nephi asks her not to be deceived by their appearance because they are ferocious and ruthless warriors who show their targets no mercy. On top of that, she protests that elf ears are cuter, and Hymno doesn't know what to say. The cat ladies approach them and ask if they are lost. Hymno affirms, and the women tell them to head to the arena as it is the biggest landmark around here. On the other side, Sato is having a panic attack that both Hymno and Nephi are missing. But Baster tells him to take a chill pill because this place is completely safe and secure. He says that Hymno is smart and should be heading towards the Fire Princess, so they should do the same. Sato notices some girls giving him scary glances, but Mars tells him not to worry because they are just curious about strong people. Sato gets cocky, thinking that they are after him, but they ignore him like your crush ignores you, and start pestering Mars. He asks them if they can tell them where they can find the princess, and the girls get pissed because they think that another visitor is trying to court the princess. In the meantime, Hymno and Nephi have bonded over snacks, and Nephi tries to apologize to Hymno for hogging all of Sato's attention lately. As they are in the middle of their cathartic exchange, a man gets flung out from the arena's door, all bloody and beaten up. Just then, Sato also arrives there, and Hymno immediately rushes to warn him about some violent people in the arena. He wonders what is happening, but then the cat girls who escorted them here invite him into the arena, which is where anyone interested in courting their princess goes. They enter the arena to see the skimpily dressed princess beating the crap out of a knight who challenged her to prove his strength. She notices the rings on Sato's fingers and asks if he is here to become her husband. She declares that she will test him before allowing that and immediately charges towards him. Sato barely dodges her first strike, but gets knocked out cold with the second. The cat princess says that she would rather stay single all her life than marry a wimp like him. She says that even with the power of the rings, he is a worthless loser, but he is free to challenge her again to make her change her mind. Later, Sato starts training with Mars, but he needs to be taught from the very basic. They take a quick lunch break, and the guy serving them talks about how Princess Gran wants a husband, but she also wants someone stronger than her. No one in their tribe could match her, so she invited people from all races to challenge her, but they all fail. Sato wonders if he can beat her, and Baster clearly tells him that with his sword skills, he stands no chance. However, if he uses his rings, he has a great advantage. Sato thinks it will be unfair, but the cat guy tells him that using magic is not against the rule. Sato is motivated to work hard and grow strong, but this makes Hymno jealous. She approaches him when he is alone and lost in thoughts, and makes him lay on her lap to see two marvelous peaks from another angle. She tells him that it is okay for him to be a little weak because he is supposed to get strength from his bond with his wife. Sato says that it will be lame, but Hymno says that she will like him like that. Nephi hears all this from behind a pillar, unsure about how to join them. Soon, Baster comes there to take Sato for his magic lessons. Sato keeps working hard both in studying magic and his swordsmanship lessons with Mars, who is surprised at his growth rate. He tells Sato that with the power of the rings, he may have a 1% chance of victory against Princess Gran, and that is not bad considering her level. Hymno watches this from a distance, and she feels disheartened that Sato is working so hard to get acknowledgement from the cat princess. Soon, the day of their rematch comes, and Sato walks past a guy who just got crushed by Gran. As Sato enters the arena and everyone starts cheering on him, the guy feels jealous that he can become strong just by wearing a ring. Suddenly, he spots a black ring in front of him, and the voice of the Demon King asks him to take it if he craves power. The knight doesn't even hesitate and grabs the ring, obtaining the dark power within it to become a demon knight. He barges into the arena, pushing aside the guards, and then tells Sato that he may have defeated him in the Elf Nation, but he won't be able to do that again. The knight charges at Sato, who freezes because he realizes who he is facing. Luckily for him, Gran takes charge and manages to block the Demon Knight's attack and remove his helmet. He is wearing the same mask as the previous Demon Knight, and his body is covered with dark hellfire. He uses his power to summon fire-breathing dragons, but a warrior from the cat tribe slashes the dragon's head in one go. She says that the cat people have never stopped training for times like this, and a couple demonic beasts are nothing for them. Gran takes command and orders her subordinates to evacuate everyone and not let a single demon escape from this building. Meanwhile, she decides to fight the Demon Knight because she was getting bored of normal guys anyway. However, as she attacks the Demon Knight, her sword melts because of his hell flame. Sato decides to launch a surprise attack from behind with the power of the Wind Ring, but his strike does 0 damage to the Demon Knight, who hits him away to the boundary of the arena. Gran comes to him and tells him to let him deal with the demon knight because he is too weak to be of any help. That hurts Sato's pride, and he tells her that it is his duty to fight the demons as the Ring King. He tells her that he will lure the demon knight close and dispel the fire covering his body, and she can attack him using that chance. Despite the risks in the plan, Gran accepts to follow it. Sato taunts the demon knight with the rings and forces him to attack. He waits for the demon knight to get close enough and then launches a powerful burst of wind to blow away his flames. That is Gran's chance to attack and rattle the demon knight, after which she passes her sword to Sato to finish the job. Sato enchants the sword with light and slashes the demon knight's mask with it, successfully returning him into a human. In the meantime, the cat people have defeated all the demonic beasts, and the situation is perfectly under control. Gran tells Sato that he lacks strength but has potential, and she is ready to accept him as her husband. However, Sato tells her that he won't accept a compromise and challenges her to a fair fight. She accepts the challenge, and soon, both of them get ready to fight. Gran rushes at Sato and lands the first strike, and Hymno averts her eyes because she can't see him getting hurt. Nephi asks her if she is not going to cheer on Sato because he is fighting so hard for her. On the stage, Gran asks Sato to use the power of the rings, but he refuses, saying that if he won with the borrowed power of the rings, he would be an uncool man, but he wants to win with his own strength to look cool in front of his wife. Hymno becomes wetter than the Amazon rainforest on hearing this, and she loudly yells at Sato that if he wins this fight, she will give him a 1-week free-use pass. Sato gets fired up because of this, and then suddenly, he hears the voice of the original Ring King, who has decided to give him a helping hand because he is amusing. He says that he will read Gran's next move for him, and the rest is up to Sato. The Ring King asks him not to think of this as external help, because in the end he is going to do everything. Gran charges at him again and vanishes from his sight, but the Ring King alerts Sato that she is going to attack from above. He turns upwards, and Gran is so shocked by this that she can't react to Sato's strike and gets hit. She falls to the ground, and Sato points his sword at her. His friends rejoice that he won, and Gran starts blushing. She leaps at Sato and kisses him, accepting him as her husband. Soon after that, the group heads to the water country where dragonfolk live. Mars disappears as soon as they reach the port, stating that he has some important business to handle. Just then, a veiled girl comes running to Sato with a bouquet. She says that she is a great fan of the Ring King and hands him the bouquet. Sato gladly accepts it, and then the girl suddenly kisses him. They both glow as the ring of water bonds them as husband and wife, and the girl begins laughing, telling Sato that he is really defenseless. She introduces herself as the Water Princess Saphir and tells Sato that from now on, she is his wife. Sato turns to Baster and asks if this is even allowed, and he says that it is. Saphir glares at the other princesses and tells them to do as they please because she isn't interested in them. However, she wants Sato to come with her because she needs his powers to save the country from certain doom. Before she can elaborate, a blonde knight arrives there and tells Saphir to return to the palace at once. She quickly clings to Sato, introduces him as her husband, and tells the knight that she won't go anywhere without him. The knight captain maintains his poker face as he invites Sato and his group to follow him to the palace, where they can discuss the details. In the carriage, Sato learns that the Water Kingdom is the closest to the realm of the Demon King, which is why the Empire has almost taken over the control of everything here. Sato remembers that Mars is a prince from the Empire, and Baster tells him that the blonde knight they just saw was his eldest brother, who has proven to be the most skilled general who can conquer any country he wants to. Sato asks if the Empire is an evil nation then, and Saphir agrees, saying that they are just colonialists pretending to help other nations fight the Demon King. Gran disagrees with her, saying that the Empire is doing what it must to fight the threat of the Demon King, and this starts a nasty debate between the two princesses that ends with name-calling and racial slurs. Anyway, they reach the palace, when suddenly, they hear a loud roar. Saphir says that it means a demon is going to attack them soon, which is according to the prophecies of a witch she doesn't like at all. Suddenly, a giant octopus monster jumps out of the water and attacks Sato, but he reacts quickly, using the power of fire and light to kill it. Saphir is impressed by his power and thinks that he can save her country. Soon, she presents him as her husband before her senile father, who is obviously brainwashed by the goth bitch beside him. The goth woman had predicted that Saphir would disobey her father and hand over the ring to the Ring King, which would spell the beginning of a great disaster in their country. The senile king begins cursing Sato for stepping foot in his country. But then he starts choking and gagging on John Cena's schlong, and the goth witch takes him to his room. Sato asks Saphir if that woman was her mom, and she curses him for even thinking that. He says that the woman is the palace oracle who has turned her wise father into a crooked mess. Just then, her twin sister comes running there and asks Saphir how she could decide to become the ring princess without consulting her because they had promised each other to make the decision together. Saphir says that she just felt like it, and then introduces her sister Seth to everyone. Seth tells her sister what in the world compelled her to marry a plain-looking man like Sato. He is devastated by that, and none of his girls can really say anything besides the same old crap about his personality being better. Anyway, Saphir tells Seth that she married the Ring King so that she doesn't have to, and now she doesn't have to worry about anything. This snaps Mars into action, and he leaps out to greet Seth. He says that he has not forgotten his promise to her, but she doesn't even want to see his face anymore. She runs away, and Saphir taunts Mars, calling him a good-for-nothing. Mars runs after Seth, and Sato asks Saphir to explain what is happening. She reveals that Seth and Mars love each other, or at least they used to. A few years ago, the Empire decided to annex the Water Kingdom, but they realized that they could not cross the terrain to fight, so they retorted to diplomacy. They sent Mars as their representative to build bridges with the Water Kingdom, and he and Seth fell in love. Their feelings were true, but Mars had a secret mission to spy on the inner workings of the Water Kingdom and report on it. In the end, he never did it for Seth's sake, so he was called back to the kingdom. A few months later, he sent a letter to Sarah, telling her that he had become the Ring King candidate, so he would be coming to marry her in due time. However, when they learned that Mars abandoned his duty of being the Ring King, Sarah was devastated and thought that she was never going to marry him. That is why she is angry at him, and that is their personal matter to sort out. Saphir says that a few weeks after that, the Goth Oracle appeared in their country, and as her predictions about monster attacks came true, the king placed her by his side, and the country went through a downfall. Sato asks if the oracle was sent by the Empire, and Saphir says that she has no proof, which is why she is going to catch her red-handed. On the other hand, the oracle is pissed that Saphir fouled her plans by marrying Sato, so she sends assassins to kill him and retrieve the rings. However, Gran was on guard, and she easily knocks out the assassins, who turn out to be normal humans. They use smoke bombs to escape, and now Gran is certain that the Empire is involved in this matter. Sato learns about it the next day, and the assassins are still after him. One assassin tries to shoot him, but Baster stops his arrow with magic. Anyway, all of them head out to have some fun at the pool, and Sato decides to leave his thirsty wives to have a chat with Mars about his condition. He asks him why he gave up the role of the Ring King even if it meant that he couldn't marry his lover. Mars says that when he saw how Hyemno looked at him, it reminded him of Seth, and he didn't want to take her happiness away. Sato is left shocked by that answer, and Mars tells him that he is better suited to be the hero anyway. Later, Mars meets up with his brother and asks him to stop meddling with the Water Kingdom. His brother says that this is the will of their father, and he will see it done. He also tells Mars that their father has not forgiven him for giving up the chance to become the Ring King, but since he has become close to Sato and is reporting his actions to the Empire, he is earning his forgiveness little by little. Later, as Mars dejectedly heads to his room, he finds the Oracle waiting for him. She tells him that the Emperor wants him to steal the rings from Sato if he wants to be accepted by him. Mars tells her to stop joking, but the Oracle is dead serious. She tells him that 3 days from now, a huge horde of monsters will attack this country, and using that chance, he must kill Sato and steal the rings. Mars is angry, but the Oracle tells him that only if he kills Sato and obtains the rings will his father allow him to marry his lover. She gives him a cursed sword that can distort the flow of magic, and even the Ring King won't be able to survive it. Mars asks her how she got it, but she refuses to tell him and forces him to accept the sword and the mission. Mars begins falling under the influence of the cursed sword's magic and thinks that killing Sato will solve all his problems. Soon, the day of action comes, and the blonde knight leads his soldiers to fight the monsters, while telling Sato and Mars to stay behind in case they fail to stop the monsters. Sato's girls kiss him one by one to give him power in case of an emergency situation, and this cheesy scene makes Saphir want to barf. Mars is also watching this, and watching Sato get the love of so many girls only makes the cursed sword's control over him stronger. Soon, a giant octopus monster arrives there, and as Sato is distracted by it, Mars launches a surprise attack. Thanks to Baster's alertness, Sato is able to dodge the attack. He asks Mars what he is doing, but he has been completely consumed by darkness. The monster advances towards them too, and Baster uses his full power to stop it, while Sato sorts things out with Mars. Mars attacks him, and as Sato blocks and dodges his strikes, he asks him why he is trying to kill him. Mars says that killing him and taking the rings for the Empire is his mission, but Baster figures out that he is being controlled by someone. Sato asks how to fix him, but Baster has no idea. He tells Sato to focus on stopping Mars from attacking him first, and he decides to use the power of his rings. However, Mars easily dispels his magic attack, and the spirit of the original Ring King speaks to Sato again. He realizes that Mars is using a sword that can disrupt the flow of magic, even though it is just a failed prototype. He tells Sato to destroy Mars with the power of the rings, but he refuses to kill a friend. Sato knows that he can't hold back his strength against Mars, but then he realizes that despite the difference in their skill, he is still unharmed. He realizes that Mars is still fighting back against the control of the sword, and he tries to reach out to him. At the same time, the girls hear about Mars and Sato fighting, so they rush to see them. Mars charges at Sato, who lowers his sword and gets hit on purpose. Mars stops his strike before doing any serious damage, and Sato says that he knew a kind person like him could not turn evil. Mars falls to his knees and asks Sato to end him because he is a failure who can't serve his country, and the woman he loves has abandoned him. On top of that, he even injured a friend, so he doesn't deserve to live. Sato tells him that he has helped him countless times, and he is a valuable member of his party that will save the world. He tells him not to give up so easily, and Mars is moved. Once they get close, the original Ring King tells Sato to strike the jewel on the sword's pommel, and he immediately shatters it, freeing Mars from his curse. This pisses the Oracle, who decides to take some extreme measures. On the other hand, Baster cannot stop the octopus any longer, and it breaks free of his earthen walls to attack the girls. It rushes towards Hymno, but Gran chops off its tentacle, so it captures Seth instead. Just then, the Oracle makes her appearance, and she tells Mars that he wasted the golden opportunity given to him. She tells him that if he tries anything funny, Seth will die, and she tells him to kill Sato if he wants to save her. Mars has had enough of being manipulated, so he approaches the Oracle, telling her that he will not hurt the people he cares about again. He declares that he will live according to his desires, and approaches Seth, asking her to marry him. The Oracle is bewildered by what is happening, and using this chance, Sato cuts the monster's tentacle and frees Seth. Mars catches her, and they begin flirting immediately. The Oracle loses her patience at this and decides to reveal her true self. She is a demon knight as well and uses her ring to control the giant octopus monster. She declares that she will destroy the entire kingdom to fulfill her master's desire, and Sato is still processing her surprise face reveal. Just then, Saphir appears and tells him to stop spacing out. She gives him a peck on the cheek and then uses the power of the ring to transform into a giant dragon that bites the octopus and kills it. The Oracle is too terrified, and she uses her powers to teleport away. With that, things return to normal between Sato and Mars, and even Saphir's dad makes a full recovery. He thanks Sato for saving the kingdom and freeing him from the clutches of the evil woman. After that, he turns to Mars and his brother and tells them that while he accepts the Empire as an ally, he doesn't need their soldiers protecting them anymore. He tells Saphir that she found a good husband for herself and even grants Mars permission to marry Seth. The older prince, who is no longer blonde because of the lighting, leaves the Empire at once, believing that something sinister is happening there and he must stop it. He congratulates Mars on his wedding and tells him to return home soon. On the other side, the demon knight reaches the Emperor to coax him into joining her side. However, he lures her close and then slashes her in half, telling her that he worked with her in the past because their goals aligned, but he has seen through her act and knows that she is trying to brainwash him, kills her, declaring that he will rule the entire world, and he will kill the Demon King and the Ring King if they stand in his way. Soon, Sato leaves on his journey with his new wife in tow. They head to the land of dwarves, but Baster tells him that they can't meet the dwarves because they went extinct during the battle of the Ring King and the Demon King. The dwarves were always few in number, but they fought bravely in the war, and most of them perished. Sato asks how they will get the ring and the princess if there are no dwarves, and Baster says that he has no freaking clue. Soon, they come to the mountain ranges where the dwarves used to live, and Baster tells them that they have to continue the rest of the journey on foot. They walk through the treacherous mountain path for 3 days, and, at night, camp under the beautiful sky. While the girls sleep peacefully, Sato and Baster stay on watch. Sato says that after traveling through many countries, he found that while people treated him as a hero, they didn't really place much expectation on him. He wonders if they don't trust him enough, and Baster says that the world is a large place and the legend of the Ring King is quite old. That is why it is natural for people to not consider it seriously, and they believe that by combining the power of mankind, they can defeat the Demon King. However, Baster believes that most of it is wishful thinking. He talks about the Demon Knights being too strong already, even though they are borrowing a tiny fraction of the Demon King, who has not even been released from his seal. That means they will have to rely on the power of the rings in the end after all. The next day, they reach the lost capital of dwarves that has been abandoned ever since the Age of Myth. There still are remains of ancient monsters in the streets, and Baster says that the last battle between the demons and the dwarves was really fierce. After which the surviving dwarves went underground and abandoned their city. They keep exploring the city for some clues, and Hymno feels like someone is watching them. They soon arrive at the throne room, which is still in good condition, and Sato freaks out as he sees someone lying on the ground. Baster tells him to calm down because that is a golem that works on magic, so it is probably discharged after years of neglect. Everyone starts talking about how the dwarves were experts in mining and craftsmanship. They excelled in making magic devices, and the moving city of the cat people was made by them too. However, they find no clue about the ring, and Baster suggests that they explore the underground tunnels next. Just then, one golem rises up and attacks Sato, who barely parries his attack. He asks Baster how this golem can still have magic left, but then the old man notices something peculiar about it. The golem has the same mask as a demon knight, and it wears a black ring too. Sato wonders if the Demon King can control machines too, but then the puppet starts talking. It harbors the grudges of the dwarves that were the only race who disappeared after the Great War, and now it wants the other tribes to vanish with them. It uses the power of the ring to create a wall between Sato and the rest of his group. Sato can't see anything, but he instinctively reacts to the Demon Knight's attack at the last moment. The Demon King speaks through it and tells Sato not to interfere in the matters of this world, as it does not concern him. Sato replies that he will do everything in his power to protect the world of his one true love. And just then, the wall behind him shatters. Baster has opened up a path for everyone to support him, and Hymno immediately kisses Sato to share some power with him. Sato rushes towards the Demon Knight, cutting through a thick earth wall to defeat it. Once he is done, the ring suddenly starts glowing, and the Demon King declares that it is finally time for him to reawaken. The ring turns into black smoke and vanishes, and the other rings follow. Their power reaches the Demon King on his throne, and as he wakes up, the Dwarven palace begins to rattle. Suddenly, a portal appears above them, and powerful monsters come out of it. Baster says that they should retreat because they can't get into fighting without understanding what is happening here. They run out of the palace, but to their horror, there are even more monsters there. Sato thinks that the only one who can help them out is Saphir, but she says that she can't turn into a dragon in this place because it has no water. Sato has no choice but to keep fighting the monsters with the help of his friends, but no matter how many they defeat, the monsters keep on coming. Baster uses a bright light to blind the monsters, and everyone runs away using that chance. They hide in a safe spot, but Sato is too tired. Suddenly, Baster notices something that leaves him devastated. A huge army of one-eyed monsters is marching towards them, and behind the monsters is a huge mass of dark magic. Baster realizes that the Demon King has awakened, and he falls to his knees, saying that they have no hope to win if Sato can't find all 5 rings and awaken their power. There is no time to do that now, and the world is doomed. The Demon King notices Sato and sends a warning towards him from the distance. Sato freaks out and says that they can still find the 5th ring in time, but Baster has no hope. However, he is not going to let the Demon King kill Sato and others so easily. He decides to send them to safety by opening a portal to Sato's world and says that he will stay behind to close it quickly so that the Demon Lord can't follow them. A monster attacks him from behind, but Mars jumps out to cover for him. He decides to keep Baster safe as he closes the spell, and the old man asks Sato to keep Hymno safe. With that, Sato and others get teleported away, and Baster closes the gate. Now only he and Mars are left behind, and they swear to fight for their world till their end. On the other hand, Sato and his girls reach the modern world, where Hymno can't stop bawling her eyes out. A couple days pass, and Sato is still in shock about what happened. He thinks that the girls might find it even more stressful, because this isn't even their world. But to his surprise, they are adapting quite well. They even go out for shopping and lunch because there is nothing better they can do. Saphir suggests that if they can find a spot that is dense with magic energy, they may be able to do something. However, that is also a far-fetched thing because no one but Baster could use the dimensional teleportation spell even in their world. At night, the rest of the girls sleep in Hymno's house while she comes over to Sato's place. She tells him that in her house, she found a letter from Baster, who had already made preparations in case their plan failed and he had to send her back here. She starts crying thinking about that, and Sato can only comfort her. They return to their school life in the meantime, while the rest of the girls learn more about this world. Each night, Sato comes to the spot in the forest where they teleported, and one night, Hymno follows him. She hugs Sato, telling him to forget about the other world and find happiness here with her. She cries, saying that they cannot save her world, so at least they should live in peace. Sato pushes her away for being so cowardly, because he has still not given up. Just then, a bright light shines behind them, and a statue falls from the shrine there. The statue turns into a girl, who tells Sato that she has long waited for the Ring King. Sato freaks out and asks how she knew he was the Ring King, and she introduces herself as Amber, the keeper of the Ring of Earth. Sato asks how she can be here, and Amber explains that long ago, when the dwarves realized that they would go extinct, they created her based on the princess's DNA and sent her here with the ring so that no one could steal it. She claims that she has waited all her life for this, and now she is ready to provide her power to the Ring King. Hymno yells that there is no need for that because they have already abandoned her world, which would have fallen to the Demon King by now. Sato wonders what to do as Amber heads back to her shrine, and in the end, he comes back empty-handed. He is about to tell the other girls about this, but Hymno stops him because she doesn't want to get involved with the other world anymore. After everyone goes to sleep, she asks Sato if he can even defeat the Demon King with the power of the 5 rings, and he has no answer. They go to school the next day, and Amber starts stalking Sato, saying that it is her duty to look after him. She guides him all day long, and at night, he goes to her shrine. She tells him that she can give him the power to go to the other world, and that makes Sato even more confused. Amber keeps hounding him and tells him that it is her duty to help him save the world. So she will wait till he dies for him to change his mind. Her determination helps Sato make up his mind, so he kisses her and accepts her ring as well. As he returns home later, Hymno leaps on him, telling him that she was feeling lonely. She notices the 5th ring in his hands and asks why he had to accept it. She starts crying because she doesn't want to lose him in the battle against the Demon King. But Sato tells her that he won't lose. He reminds her that it is not only her duty to save the world but his too. And with the strong bond between them, nothing can defeat them. He is moved by his words and decides to go back for one final fight. But before that, she wants to deepen her bonds with Sato through some bang-bang action. And he finally mans up to do so. However, Amber appears at their window when they are just getting to the good part to inform them that she has opened the gate to the other world. She realizes that she came at the worst timing. But unfortunately, she can open the gate only once, so it is now or never. Sato decides to leave the business unfinished for now and tells Hymno to wake others up. But Gran barges into the room carrying the 2 girls. She knew everything that was going on, so she had prepared in advance for this day, and together they headed back to their world. They teleport to the throne room of the Dwarven capital, and Amber senses that there are no living humans or monsters nearby. They walk outside, and Amber uses her built-in flashlight to guide them. They come across the dead bodies of the monsters and the Empire's soldiers, and the girls fear that this world has already fallen. Just then Gran hears some distant sounds. She rushes to check on them and finds that the war between the Empire and the demons is still going on. Suddenly, Sato's rings start acting up, and he realizes that it is time for his showdown with the Demon King. The Demon King stands alone in front of the enemy soldiers and decimates them with his great strength. So Sato decides to hurry up and fight him. Before he leaves, all his girls wish him good luck and give him their power, and only Hymno gives him a sloppy kiss. She tells him that she will be waiting for him to return so that they can resume what they were doing back in his room. With that, Sato leaps towards the battlefield, quickly defeating all the monsters in his way to reach the Demon King. Sato attacks him with his light sword, but the Demon King easily blocks it. Suddenly, Sato hears the voice of the original Ring King again, who tells him that he did well. He uses his power to fuse the rings into one, and Sato feels himself bursting with energy. He charges towards the Demon King and puts all his power into one attack, whose shockwaves are enough to destroy all the monsters around them. The Demon King has lost half his body, but even though he is literally disintegrating, he has not been defeated yet. He regenerates, and the original Ring King can't believe that his powers were lost. Sato wonders if he was not good enough, but then his body becomes unable to move because of the last move he pulled. He falls to the ground defenseless, and his girls lose their minds. Gran rushes to support him, and Nephi follows. Hymno is too terrified to do anything, but Amber holds her hand, saying that she won't let him die. Meanwhile, the Demon King charges a powerful dark attack to destroy Sato's soul, but Gran attacks him right in time to disrupt that. Nephi and Saphir save Sato, and the remaining 2 also join them. The Demon King says that resistance is futile and uses his power to summon an army of one-eyed monsters. Gran and Amber fight against them, but the monsters capture Gran. Amber manages to free her, but they know that they can't beat all the monsters by themselves. Sato tries to use the power of the ring again, but it is pointless. He feels energy leaving his body, and he apologizes to his girls as he starts seeing flashbacks of his life, and he sees a happy future where he gets married to Hymeneo. Suddenly his dream changes, and he is alone on the school roof, where the dark power of the Demon King assaults him. He feels the darkness consuming him, but then he opens his eyes and finds himself flying on a giant bird along with Baster.